So my name is Sonali, Sadequee, and my brother's name is Shifa Sadequee. And our whole life, my whole family, we're a family of 6. I have 2 other siblings that are older than me. I'm third, and Shifa is my little brother. He's the youngest, he's the baby. And he was actually born here in the US. And we all grew up here in the US since I was in elementary school. And Shiva was a little baby. And I taught him his ABCDs, because I used to pretend he's my toy. My baby toy. He's 7 years younger than me. So by the time he was a baby, I was like, this is my baby. And my mom was okay with that too. She had less chores to take care of with him. She handed over a lot of chores to me. I was like, yes. I also taught him how to drive. And I was just teaching him how to finish driving and learning how to drive. Just a couple of months before he was kidnapped, when he was 19 years old. He actually went to Bangladesh, so even though we all grew up here, he was with my parents had kind of gone back to Bangladesh after like my high school years. My parents went back to Bangladesh, and Shiva was still young. He was in his like middle school kind of years, and so my older siblings were in college. I was pretty much about to start college, I think. And so he was the youngest one, and all of us were so busy with our own lives. My parents thought that it would be best that he go to Bangladesh for a little bit and study there. So he was there, and when he was there for a few years, he fell in love with somebody who was very close to our family. And but then I was graduating college by that time, and we all decided as a family that he come back to the U.S. and finish his GED, and so that he can actually resume his studies here, where he's born, his country. And so we did. So he came back to the U.S., and by this time I had graduated, and I had a full-time gig as a community organizer with a nonprofit. And so I was supporting him, and my parents were still in Bangladesh. So I was supporting him, teaching him how to drive, getting him set up with his GEDs. So he was actually studying on his own. And then at one time, my ED, the executive director at the organization I was at, she needed some extra help, admin help, and so we were like, oh, Shifa, do you want to go help her part-time, just a few hours a week? And so he did. He was all about it. It was actually, by the way, a women's organization supporting women and children, and he helped her. And so he was here working with me. We were writing together to the nonprofit, which was in the city in Atlanta at that time. And in that work, because we were community organizing, he also got to involved with other projects that were happening in the community, working with another men's organization that's called Men Stopping Violence. And so he was working with organizing a conference for that. So this goes on for a few months, and the woman he left behind, that he fell in love with in Bangladesh, her parents were going to arrange a marriage for her. And he was like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna let that happen. So then he makes sure that he saved all his money to buy some jewelry so that he could go get married. So he goes to Bangladesh. And then he realizes he's got another whole obstacle, that the fathers are not agreeing to their marriage.
Sonali, So the next session is supposed to start in 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
So they do get married eventually.
Your impact for Loving Monday.
Okay, so what ends up happening is that they do get married, and then 2 weeks after they get married, he gets kidnapped in the streets of Bangladesh by about 8 men in civilian clothing who were hired by the CIA. And after he gets kidnapped, his wife watched the whole thing because they were returning together. And for 4 days, we didn't know where he was. He had literally disappeared. And I thought, and my whole family, we thought that he was going to be sent to Guantanamo. By the way, this is 2006, soon after, just a few years after 9/11. And back then, Guantanamo was roaring high, right? And so Shifa was, when he was in Bangladesh, he was in Islamic studies, and so that's why we were like, well, maybe, because he's into Islamic studies, maybe that's why they picked him up. So after we find out on the 4th day that CNN actually breaks the news saying that Sadequee, my brother, has been extradited and he's going to be sent to Brooklyn, and then eventually that's where the first hearing would be. To make the long story short, the first indictment that they release was only granted because there's there's something called the ruse law, where it allows the FBI to actually fabricate, actually allow them to make a false statement in the indictment so that they can make it easier for the judge to offer a warrant for arrest. And then what ends up happening is that indictment gets completely dropped and a new indictment gets released several weeks later, almost a couple months later, I believe. And that charge that they said was the reason why they arrested him, which was that he provided false statement to the FBI agents that interviewed him when he was going to Bangladesh to go get married, was actually not a lie at all, and that was never even part of the second indictment. And so, to make the long story short, we were devastated. We were like, everything that they said that he did, or none of it was actually anything violent. My brother never had any possession of any kind of weapons or anything like that. That was never part of their actual thing. The things that were video footage of Washington, D.C. that he sent to some other guy in Bosnia, translating Arabic scholarly articles from Arabic to English and then distributing them on the internet world because he wanted to have conversations with others around these topics and political discussions that, of course, our government doesn't want people to have. So what was so hurtful and damaging and so scary and traumatizing is that during those weeks and months that followed, Shifa, when he was picked up and jailed, it was in solitary confinement for 3.5 years before trial. And in those 3.5 years, we could only see him through a plexiglass. And it was like our little brother that we couldn't see and touch and hug and comfort him. And by the grace of his belief, his practice, his faith, and our practice is what allowed us to be resilient and continues to support us to be resilient through all of this. And so one of the things that I've been doing to take care of all of this is to making sure that I do what I need to do to take care of myself and take time out and take time to enjoy people and community and be in supportive community and company. And the hardest thing has also been like how to deal with the media and when they're harassing you, following you around, how to, and we've had to like just figure this out as, some of us that are newly in this journey, to just learning by doing, and it's not easy. And so really grateful of Steve and everybody else, and who've been here holding space and supporting and guiding us all along. So really, so grateful of all of that. And we got 6 more years to go. So.